$6.9 million seized. 47 people in cuffs, all triggered by a traffic stop that didn't look like much. That's the headline. Now the question is, how did those tiny moments stack up into a federal hammer? We'll start at the top. Money, arrests, the takedown, and then track backward through the routine stops and flagged packages that quietly built the case, showing you where FBI, ICE, and DEA synced up and why the timing mattered. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. How does a web this big run for months, maybe years, and still vanish from headlines until the cuffs click? It looks quiet from the outside because the noise is spread thin. Small buys, short calls, cash that never hits a bank. The crash only shows when the last switch flips and every light goes out at once. Dawn, and the play begins on a timer. Teams load at staging lots before first light. Warrants stack by door order, not street name, so no one pauses to think. Radios go to low power. Network nodes get hit first. The garage with the cash counter, the corner duplex with the rotating cars, the storage unit signed to a shell with a P.O. box. Phones drop off the grid in blocks as signal cutters, dead batteries, and seized handsets pull thread. A back bedroom opens to a safe dusted with talc from plastic-wrapped bricks. A dining table hums under a money counter, pushing rubber-banded stacks through in a steady hit. At first glance, the figure stutters. 6.9 million sounds like pallets of money, but valuation is a menu. Cash sits in bins. Product sits in heat-sealed layers. Assets wear titles and plates. Ledgers hold numbers that will become counts. The mix tells you the pulse rate. More cash than product hints at a collection cycle. Heavy product with low cash suggests a staging week. The spread shows in small details. Sedans with quarter panels that clip off with a hidden latch. Mid-size crossovers with factory panels that don't fit quite right. 2 storage units on one corridor, rented 3 days apart with different IDs and the same handwriting. Ledger apps with nicknames written as emojis and 3-letter codes. A coffee mug full of SIM cards, each linked to an address 2 states over. Roles divide cleanly when the mandates line up. FBI charts the enterprise. Who talks to whom? Who never touches product? Who moves money without touching cash? DEA traces sourcing and distribution flows, matching purity, cut agents, and packaging quirks to suppliers upstream. ICEHS tracks the border seams and the export-import paperwork that looks clean until the dates miss by a day. One city sits in the middle because highways meet there. The clock hits the same minute in 4 satellite towns, and doors open before anyone can torch a notebook or dump a phone. An evidence log grows with a rhythm. Traps, scales, sealers, bundles, locks, keys, plates. Prosecutors will argue value by the conservative book. Street price is loud but soft in court. Wholesale numbers hold better, paired with weight, purity, and consistent packaging to reduce the wiggle room. Those 47 arrests trace tiers. Suppliers shielded behind 2 layers. Movers who carry routes in their heads, transporters who keep only 1 key, couriers who speak in pickup windows, local sellers who know the corners but not the names above them. That is why the badges moved together. Each held 1 lane, and the case needed all lanes at once. Now, rewind to the small sparks that drew that map before anyone saw the outline. The loose thread looks boring. A late-model sedan drifts across the line twice on an interstate feeding a hub city. A patrol unit tucks in behind it, runs the plate, and sees a rental. Tag checks out. The stop is clean. The officer walks up, notes the window tint reads darker than state law, and starts the usual questions. Where are you headed? How long were you there? The driver keeps it calm and polite, but the answers land in odd places. An overnight trip that became a day trip, a cousin's place with no street number, and a paper contract signed by someone who isn't in the car. Little tells start stacking. 2 air fresheners hang from the mirror, and another sits clipped to the vent. The rear seats look fine, but the quarter panel seams show thin scuffs, like a trim tool slipped there recently. 1 screw on the inner panel is drilled flat, not domed like the factory spec on the other side. The trunk carpeting feels stiff along one edge, as if it has been lifted and reset. None of it screams felony. All of it nudges an experienced cop to slow down. Procedure matters. The officer writes the citation first, to avoid contaminating the stop. A second unit rolls by for cover. A K9 car arrives because the dispatcher logged the rental flag and the inconsistent travel narrative. The handler walks the dog around the vehicle during the lawful stop window. A change of behavior at the rear quarter cues a deeper look, but consent is requested before anything moves. The driver agrees. Body cams catch the conversation, the consent, the start of the search. The back seat holds a plain backpack, Inside sits a heat-sealed bundle under a sweatshirt and a spiral notebook with shorthand entries. Nicknames, dates, three-letter codes, and numbers that look like weights and prices. The bundle has layered vacuum wrap, plastic lined with a faint petroleum smell, and a strip of coffee grounds stuck in the edge. That packaging style shows up again later, but for now, it is evidence number one. Interstates feeding a central hub get this kind of attention because they carry predictable courier traffic. Couriers avoid flashy cars. In recent years, mid-size crossovers and sedans with good mileage became common. Room for traps without drawing eyes. The tool marks hint at a trap in the quarter panel, but the backpack alone sets probable cause for arrest. A phone goes into a Faraday sleeve. The officer logs the handset, the SIM, and the notebook. Back at the station, a phone extraction under warrant pulls out app chats with code words like boxes and tickets, recurring location pings near a warehouse off a frontage road, and call histories tied to out-of-state area codes. That warehouse lands on a list twice in 1 week when a different team notices something off at a shipping center. A plain cardboard box throws a flag when it behaves wrong for its size and route. National hubs watch for parcels that weigh more than they should, move at odd hours, or carry scents that don't match tape and corrugate. A cluster comes in heavy for its dimensions, edges wrapped in thick layers of clear tape, with return addresses that map to empty suites or short-term rentals. When handlers pick them up, a faint, sweet, cash-like odor lingers, the kind that sticks to bills and rubber bands. None of that proves a crime, but in a system built on patterns, anomalies stand out. The hub logs the set. Labels pull to names that exist on paper, but not at the door. Drop locations rotate every few days. One parcel lists a sender in a different state with a phone that never answers and a voicemail box that's full. Another uses a return that belongs to a mailbox store that changed hands last month. A dozen look similar, but similarity isn't the tell. Consistency is. The same tape job, the same printer banding on the labels, the same underpaid overnight option on routes that wouldn't normally need it. HSI and postal inspectors build the grid. They measure weight to dimension ratios and sort by who prints the labels, not just who pays for them. Identical thermal printers leave tiny artifacts in the barcodes. Repeat drop points show up behind gas stations and at strip mall mailbox centers where staff clock out early. Payments tie back to reloadable cards bought with cash, loaded in small increments, and then drained in one shot at the counter. One storefront in a small town becomes a relay. Parcels arrive after the gate is closed, slid through a side slot, and picked up minutes after opening by the same pair of drivers, each wearing different hats on different days. Cameras watch a sedan idle 2 lots away while calls hit the same 3 numbers after pickups. That's enough for a controlled delivery plan. Controlled drops keep the chain intact. An undercover driver does the handoff. A parcel with a beacon rides along. Agents watch who accepts, who follows at a distance, and who switches cars. The box lands at a unit with covered windows, then back out to a second address, and finally to a warehouse on a frontage road. Known concealment tricks show up when one parcel is lawfully opened. Vacuum-sealed food bags, coffee grounds along seams, heat-sealed mylar. Modern sniffers and ion scanners still catch trace residue that clings despite the layers. Overlay the parcel routes onto the phone pings from the traffic stop. The geofence hits match around the same warehouse. Pickup windows mirror location data. The same surnames appear on different IDs across labels and rental agreements. With that, judges sign surveillance orders on 2 stash sites. Cameras track a weekly cadence that lines up with interstate arrivals. Parcels and highway stops now share a clock. And the teams align as the full chart starts to take shape. Who leads when targets cross state lines and bleed into custom zones? The mandate decides, but the handoff has to be tight. Once the traffic stop phone pings lined up with parcel routes, a joint task force formed. FBI framed the enterprise with conspiracy and hierarchy in mind. DEA mapped sourcing, purity, and distribution nodes. HSI pulled the threads on shell importers, suspicious export paperwork, and money that slipped across borders in small pieces. Silos kill cases, so they started with deconfliction. Targets, addresses, nicknames, phone numbers, and license plates ran through shared lists, so 2 squads didn't sit on the same doorstep. A lead tracker flagged who owned each lane, who had a source in play, and who had a warrant brewing. If a tip touched two files, the task force commander sorted priority and sequence to keep visibility without burning an informant. They pulled data into one pane. Phones from the stop, parcel hub scans, and LPR hits fed a case platform that could map relationships by time and place. Geofencing drew heat zones around the warehouse and 2 storage corridors. Call detail records stacked short bursts of calls before every shipment window. The pattern sharpened when a money counter in a garage spit out bundled cash wrapped with bank straps from a distant state. Financial crimes teams looped in bank compliance, and suspicious activity reports lit up weeks where deposits and withdrawals swung in tight cycles. Timing became the lever. They planned to hit transporters after a delivery, when cash sat raw and before it moved into laundering steps like funnel deposits or structured wires. Warrants rode the clock, so comms froze. Phones fell silent when knock and announce hit across counties at the same minute. Routers went into evidence bags, and numbers stopped hopping towers mid-call. Access came with cost. A mid-level mover faced exposure and traded detail for relief. He laid out stash rotation days, flagged which lockers turned over on Tuesdays, and dropped pins for 2 storage units registered under different names. He explained the app-based directions couriers followed, and why they never met suppliers twice. The chart locked. 2 shell companies sat at the top, paying insurance on vehicles they never used, and leasing a tiny office that held only a printer and a shred bin. Transport ran through short-term hires recruited with day rates, told to drive a route and park at a dot. Cash couriers swapped cars in grocery lots to keep plates clean.